All right, everyone. So it appears that Borderlands 4 is being review bombed. When I last checked, it had a mixed review on Steam. And so we're reading here from Game Rant Borderlands 4 review bombing explained. The issue of Borderlands 4 review bombing matters because it can distort perceptions of potential buyers despite critical praise. That said, Borderlands 4 is being review bombed on Steam for two primary reasons. The first being the state of its release on the platform and on PC at large. Additionally, while Gearbox is taking steps to combat the issue, some players are upset with how the studio and CEO is going about it. Borderlands 4 technical state is the primary suspect in review bombing. Borderlands 4 is quite technically demanding, but why that is the case is currently a hot button topic among fans. Some are confused by the game's performance, considering its art style, assuming it requires less graphical fidelity, but others think the issue are more deeply rooted. Many of the fans believe the problems stem from Borderlands 4 engine, Unreal Engine 5, as many other games utilizing that engine also have technical issues. It's important to note, however, that while it's absolutely understandable to feel Borderlands' 4 performance, it's meeting an acceptable standard, there should be no doubt that this is the most technically complex game in the franchise. Borderlands 4's new features, like its open world map and very few loading screens, likely require some serious processing power. While that doesn't excuse poor performance, it does explain it. And we're going to keep reading in a little bit. I just want to comment on what we've read so far. So I've been playing Borderlands, and we actually had to delete one of the videos we posted because I didn't realize when I was editing it, I screwed up the audio, and so we had to delete it. But the point I made in that video is I'm not someone who's been, I've always known about the Borderlands series. I haven't played a necessarily a ton of the series, but I've always known about it. It's always one of those games I wanted to get into. And so when Borderlands 4 was coming out, I was like, I'm going to play this game. And I have for a decent amount of time so far, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. I really really like the game. I have noticed some kind of technical problems, right? Where it's just nothing like that has caused the game to crash or anything like that. But I have noticed that, maybe some texture loading in, or even sometimes with some of these like missions. And maybe this is just how the game is built. This is maybe not a technical issue, but some of the missions I feel like I really have to go to a certain point for something to play out. Like there was like honestly, like in the first mission, I was kind of waiting for a little bit for Claptrap to start what he had to do. Like, and it feels like that has happened multiple times, but that could have been more me. Maybe that was not a glitch. That was just more me. But I understand why that there's some people criticizing. And I also understand, and I want to make this clear, that for people who are complaining about this, this is a completely reasonable complaint to have about a game, right? There's a lot of things you can criticize about a game, bad storytelling, whatever it is. But when you physically feel like it's just not running properly, that becomes frustrating. Now, like I said, for me, none of this has been game breaking in any way, shape, or form. There is nothing so far for me that has made me think, yeah, this is you know, this is unplayable because of it. But that's just my experience. There might be people with different types of PCs that are having way bigger issues and it's making it legitimately kind of unplayable. And if that's the case, then this is a completely different, kind of story. All right, next part. Borderlands 4's technical issues are the culprit, but some fans see Gearbox comments as an accomplice. The chaser adding to the dissatisfaction comes from Gearbox's responses, particularly about the technical problems. Gearbox's CEO, Randy Pitchford, is one of the more involved studio heads in gaming, and in turn, he's no stranger to controversial comments. Before the release of Borderlands 4, when the pricing was still uncertain, Pitchford's divisive Borderlands 4 statement irked fans by saying that real fans would pay the price, any price for the title. Now, as Gearbox settles into the Borderlands 4 post launch maintenance period for the game, a well intentioned comment from Pitchford has added fuel to the negativity fire. As Gearbox released tips and guides to improve players' performance from their end, Pitchford likened players running Borderlands 4 on older hardware to driving a monster truck with a leaf blower's motor. A Twitter user uh, called Ranting Monkey tweeted out this: "What 3 and 4 year old hardware? What were the specs? It's great you're offering help. Would have been better to build it for the most common hardware in the first place." And he said, I got to pull it up because I got to go into it. The minimum and recommended specs are published. The most common hardware is a 4-year-old cell phone. Borderlands 4 is a premium game made for premium gamers. Just as Borderlands 4 cannot run on a PlayStation 4, it cannot be expected to run on a too old PC hardware. Unlike on PlayStation and Xbox, we cannot prevent a PC player with suboptimal hardware for the game try to play it. So some try to get mad, and some have actual issues we need to fix, and some need to learn how their PCs work at the high end for this specific game in 2025. and use the tools available to them to find the right balance between frame rate, resolution, and graphics features. This is not a game made to run on 10-year-old PCs. This game uses the full capabilities of modern bus CPU and GPU. If you're trying to drive a monster truck with a leaf blower's motor, you're if you're trying to drive a monster truck with a leaf blower's motor, you're going to be disappointed if you discover your system can't run the game well by accident or wishful thinking, and or you don't want to try to mess with the settings to make things good enough for you. Please use the refund feature on Steam rather than have a subpar experience. So look, I think there's a level of truth to what he's saying in terms of, this is how PC gaming is. As we may hate it, but I've been kind of weird in the sense I was a gamer on consoles, went to PC, and now I still play on the consoles as well, but I also still have my PC, and I bought one fairly new. So, or I bought one fairly recently. So I'm playing these games, but I understand that, there's a level of when you're getting into PC gaming, this is going to be the case. I still think there's a world in which these companies can do a better job of kind of expressing, this to players. Because if you're someone who has a 10-year-old PC, I will say I understand why on a 10-year-old PC you're not going to be able to run Borderlands 4. Like even mine, that's one of the things when you're buying a gaming PC of. Some of these, that's why I still play console every once in a while, because for some of these AAA titles, you just know, okay, this PC, as we go through the years, it's going to be a little bit more outdated, a little bit more outdated, a little bit more outdated. It doesn't change the fact that people with all types of PCs are, kind of are feeling it. And I just think that companies should understand this and put out all the guides they can to make sure that, look, every possible type of PC could run this, because it's frustrating. People can't be buying. Let me buy a state of the art PC, and then it's gone. This is one of the reasons when I bought mine, I bought as good as I could, just because it's like, all right, well now I won't have to buy one for a longer period of time. But some people are going to be buying those budget PCs, and when you buy a budget PC, you're going to be running out of the ability to play these top games even quicker. And I think for a lot of people that's frustrating. That's completely understandable, because this is expensive, right? Let's just the games are expensive, and the PCs are expensive. So I think these developers have to have a little bit of like empathy for the consumer in this one. While that particular comment drew adverse reactions, it's clear Pitchford and Gearbox are working hard to improve the Borderlands 4 experience for players across all platforms. Gearbox has already released a path for Borderlands 4 to address issues and multiple guides for PC players to optimize their performance. Additionally, in the same post, Pitchford encouraged fans to refund the game if they found the technical troubles were making the experience feel subpar. Yeah, I mean, that's always something that can happen, but I just think sometimes, and I get it, okay? Like, as with anything in life, making a video game is not easy, okay? And there is a level of like, okay, we need to be able to make money so we can make more of these, right? And I understand how hard it is, and I understand why people in the gaming industry probably get frustrated when we're doing the best we can with this stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to have empathy for the consumer, because the consumer is paying so much. Like, I bought the cheapest one is about $70. So think about that. That's $70 that you're putting towards this game. And if you're someone that has that 10-year-old PC and you're just your average gamer, you're buying it, and it gets to a point where you're like, man, I can't even run this game now. I just paid $70 for it. It just becomes frustrating. Which I guess the truth of the matter is that if you're really trying to game on a budget, it's probably a better option to game on the Xbox or the PlayStation. But at the end of the day, one thing I do like about PC gaming is that you don't have to worry about, I can't play my games anymore that I bought, right? Because there is a level of Steam. I mean, you've got games from all eras on there that can still run on your PC. I guess it depends, right? If you're really too old, but you don't have to kind of backward category the Xbox and PlayStation. But I'm loving this game so far. I've had a lot of fun with it. I kind of understand both sides of this. And, I definitely think that in my experience, I can't be too mad at Borderlands because I haven't had an egregious problem. You kind of expect nowadays that these things get some sort of problem. But I don't have the egregious problem. But if it's like unplayable, or they feel like they have to do editing in the settings and changing this and changing that and delete this file, That frustrates the hell out of me, right? Because I'm not necessarily like a technical guy. There's some people that are super computer smart. For me, I want to hit play and the game run, right? Very simple. And I don't really even care about the graphics. Like I'm fine with putting my settings if I needed to. I haven't obviously with this PC, but on my older PCs, I don't care. I'll put it on, some of the lower settings so it can play. But I don't want to have to be digging around in files and making it work. And I think that's where a lot of people are frustrated, right? You put a game in the Xbox or the PlayStation, the thing works. And you see that. So, thank you everyone.